As the headline, Senseless Violence, reporting police condemn drive-by gun maniac's rampage at funeral. Teacher strikes make the front of Tomorrow's Eye, which warns students face a return to online lessons. The Express leads with the UK's growing housing crisis. Its headline, Countryside Under Siege in Rush for Homes. Whereas the Times looks at the NHS crisis with the headline, 2 in 3 voters think NHS offers bad service. The FT focuses its attention on a meeting tomorrow in Switzerland where global leaders will discuss what it calls a new era of economic uncertainty and higher interest rates. Its headline states companies face billions in write-downs as Davos confronts a souring economy. New Hope killer will not go free, reads the front of tomorrow's Mirror, which is dedicated to the mother of murdered toddler James Bulger, who has revealed one of his killers may never be freed under a planned parole overhaul.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how people respond to this. There seems to have been a lot of public sympathy for the nurses, say, going on strike. I would suggest that perhaps public support for rail workers is perhaps beginning to wane slightly, and it'll be interesting to see how much people throw their weight behind the teaching unions because of what school children went through during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the positive, of course, is that because of the pandemic, schools are able to deal with remote learning perhaps a lot better than they were prior to 2020, but on the other hand, children missed a huge amount of schooling. Many still won't have caught up. There's a real risk for the government this is going to further sour talks with other unions or encourage other unions to themselves ballot their members. I think we can see it as an escalation with many of those unions going on strike more frequently. And like I said, I think that the real concern for me, at least, is that the effects of the pandemic still linger for many school children. Tens of thousands of children have gone missing from school rolls.
The contingency plan is going to work because, I mean, if most teachers are going to be on strike, then who's going to be given these lessons, even if they're online, So I'm not entirely sure how it will work. I mean, obviously, the whole point of industrial action is to cause disruption and make things difficult for people in the hope that that will then bring the employers back to the table to improve the pay deal. But, these things are always a bit of a gamble as far as trade unions are concerned, but we are led to believe that the National Education Union will announce tomorrow that their members have voted for strike action. They've met the required threshold, and that strike dates will then be announced, and it will cause huge disruption because you're looking at tens of thousands of teachers either on picket lines or staying at home, which means kids not being able to be taught and having to stay at home themselves. A really big story brewing, and I think it's going to come to a head this week, possibly even as soon as tomorrow. Basically, the Scottish Parliament just before Christmas passed a law reforming gender recognition laws, basically making it easier for trans people to change their gender. Now, under the terms of the Scotland Act, Westminster can block bills passed at Scotland from becoming law. Now, this has never happened before in almost 25 years of the Scottish Parliament's existence. Obviously, it is the nuclear option, as the Financial Times says. But the bottom line is, in this country, we don't build enough houses, and that's part of the reason why house prices are as high as they are and why young people these days struggle to get on the housing ladder. And now the government have this target of 300,000 homes a year. They've never come anywhere close to hitting it, and they're not going to do it this year either. Rishi Sunak's come under a lot of pressure as well from Conservative MPs to drop that target because they obviously come under pressure from their constituents who don't want housing developments near where they live. So it's an ongoing tension, really, between the need for the government to create the conditions whereby new houses can be built to meet the demand that there is out there, but it comes up against local campaign groups, as the front page of the Express is saying, who complain about these developments going on in their areas. So, it's a very difficult problem. It's one that has bedeviled governments of all political persuasions for years. Last year, environmental activists, Just Stop Oil, Extinction Rebellion, as part of their tactics was to walk through busy town and city centres. We saw it in the centre of London, close to Westminster. I saw one day of just walking slowly, and the police at the moment weren't sure whether the powers that they have gave them the right to intervene. It didn't, whether it was classified as serious disruption or not. So this new amendment, were it to pass, would allow them to intervene more quickly. The government certainly hopes. And
senseless violence is the headline, Kevin.
Yeah, and it's a pretty stark headline. It's an absolutely dreadful story. Shocked the entire country, I think, and I think it just shows the worrying rise in gun crime. Obviously, we've seen recent incidents on Merseyside as well, and I think it just adds to this sense in the country that crime is actually starting to get out of control. I mean, it's the type of incident that, not so long ago you would never expect to see on the UK streets, and for it to happen right in the centre of London on a Saturday afternoon is pretty shocking. And obviously the police are now desperately trying to find the gunman responsible for what is a horrific incident. And